What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the podcast. I got my guest, Samara. I met her in the container we're in, and she's a health and wellness coach, but she has so many other certifications and been able to help so many people, which we were just talking about. So I had to make sure we record this so she can tell all you guys about who she helps. So, okay, I'll let you take it away again.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. My name is Samara. You might find me as Wellness Coach Samara on Instagram and TikTok. I am a holistic nutritionist, overall health and wellness coach, and I work specifically with anti-inflammatory, right now, a lot of autoimmune issues. So my background is in holistic nutrition. I actually became a holistic nutritionist first and foremost for my own health. I'm actually specialized as a plant-based nutritionist as well. So that was the beginning of my journey. And then I went ahead and got certified as a personal trainer, a strength and conditioning specialist. I transformed my own genetic given body shape from an apple to an hourglass and fell in love with body recomp and strength training. It made me want to work with anyone who want to transform their body and their health from the inside out. I'm also a gut health specialist, and I healed leaky gut myself, as well as 3 autoimmune diseases myself. So now I help my clients do all of the above.
Nice. That's awesome. So basically, you can go to her for anything.
Thank you. I don't know
So,
everything, but I'm always learning.
yeah, exactly. So, okay, well, let's just start with like the first one. So, you said you're like nutritionist first. So what made you start with that then?
Yeah, of course. So actually I was pre-med and pre-vet in college. I have a bachelor's degree in biochemistry. And I actually worked as a biochemist when I got out of college. I decided not to go through with medical school because I'm not a big fan of the pharmaceutical industry and, the whole not fixing the root cause of things. What really inspired me to get nutrition was my own health. So I was born with a really severe autoimmune disease. I was toxified in the womb and my respiratory system was damaged and my immune system was severely compromised. So I spent most of my younger years dealing with that and having to just rely on, modern medicine, which wasn't fixing anything. So in my early college years, while I was in college, I started just kind of learning about nutrition and changing my nutrition. I stumbled upon fasting first and foremost. And I definitely had some years where I was really into fasting. Looking back on that now, it's a little bit cringe because I'm not a fan of fasting now, but it was really eye-opening back then. And that led me into plant-based nutrition, which I was super fascinated with. So I learned about the anti-inflammatory effects and the healing effects of whole food plant-based. And I decided to make the switch pretty much overnight. Whole food plant-based, I was raw at first for the first couple of years, which was really challenging, but also probably the healthiest years of my life. And what I found was within just a couple months of switching my nutrition over to whole food plant-based, I started to notice a lot of health issues started to disappear. A lot of issues I had with my gut, my body started to change, my energy levels drastically changed, inflammation was lowering, and the autoimmune disease I was struggling with since birth was pretty much non-existent at that point. And that really kind of was there's no turning back from that, right? Once you feel that good, you don't want to ever feel bad again. So me being a type A person and a scientist, first and foremost, a scientist, I was like, man, I have to dive into this more. I have to learn more. I have to master this. I have to
Yeah.
find out how good can I feel? If I can feel this good after 2 months, how good could it get? Right. And
Yeah.
that just kind of spiraled. And during college, I started to get nutrition certifications. I started to branch out that's when I dropped out of the pre-med program. I started to take different classes like kinesiology and even some exercise science, even some psychology, because a lot of it was reworking my brain. I struggled with disordered eating when I was younger as a gymnast.
Ooh.
And so
Oh,
all of
okay.
this
Okay.
all of this kind of tied back too. So my physical health and my mental health was drastically improving and it just kind of spiraled. And then ironically, that next year, one of my coworkers / friends decided to drag me into the weight room for the first time in my life. Against my will, I might add. I did
Okay.
not, he literally quite came to my house and kidnapped me. He's like, you're coming to the gym with me, whether you want to or not. And I hated it at first, but I also loved the challenge and I loved pushing myself. Maybe that was the athlete in me from gymnastics, and that sparked a whole other addiction of fitness. And honestly, it's just spiraled since then. So once I
Okay.
graduated, I worked in biochemistry when I graduated, and I realized that it was not challenging me. It was not what I wanted to do. It wasn't making a difference in the world. And I
Yeah.
just had all of this knowledge and passion from changing my own life. I just wanted to change other people's lives too.
Of course. Of course. So are you still plant-based or have you
Yeah.
changed your Okay, you still
No.
are? Okay.
Yeah, I'm going on 15 years of being whole food plant-based.
No way. Okay. That's
Yeah.
crazy. That's a really long time. Okay.
Yeah. It's
Nice,
amazing.
nice. So, um, okay, so you did that and then you feeling like you weren't fulfilled like being the biochemist, and so then
Yeah.
is that when you got like the certification, like your personal trainer certification after that?
Yeah, I did it while I was still working as a biochemist. So when I
Okay.
was working as a biochemist, I had to commute to I was living in a really small town. So I had to commute to a city to go to the lab to work. And so it was my first time being outside of the college gym, and I had to get a regular gym membership. I think it was like Anytime Fitness. And I started to notice a trend. I started to notice that people were approaching me in the gym for help. So like random women were like, look like you know what you're doing. Can you show me how to use this equipment? And then my boss, actually, who ran the lab, she was like, can you take me to the gym and show me what to do? And I'm like, yeah. And I had friends in college who did that with me too, but like I never thought of it. And at the time, my boyfriend, who's now my husband, he had moved in with me and he was noticing this too. And he's like, you're really good at this. He's like,
Okay.
why? He's like, if you're going to help people in the gym every day that you're there, then why aren't you getting paid for it? Why aren't you doing that? And I was already kind of leaning away from the biochem job because I wasn't being challenged, and there was nowhere to elevate in the industry I was in. It was like you just work in a lab and you run the same tests every day on the same product. And I'm like, this is
Well, yeah, that
not
sounds
for
pretty
me.
boring.
It is. It's tedious. And I'm a person, I run my life off of passion. Like I'm very passionate. So like it was essentially just like draining me. And so while I was the second year as a biochemist, I used my free time to get certified through NASM, National Academy of Sports Medicine. As a CPT, I also got the corrective exercise certification and their nutrition coach certification. I did it all in one because I'm like, if I'm going to learn as much as I can to help people.
Yeah,
And then
exactly. Yeah.
that next year, I started in the gym. Yeah.
Okay, nice. So how long ago was that then, since you started personal training?
Yeah, so I started personal training in the gym in 2015,
Okay.
and I worked in the gym full time from 2015 to 2020 when that pandemic happened.
Yeah.
I did return to the gym after the pandemic part time, but it was never the same. And I
Yeah.
started working online coaching literally right during the pandemic. Like at the end of the pandemic, I started working online coaching, and then I was doing part time in the gym. And I realized that through online coaching, I could help so much more. Like I loved my time in the gym. Don't get me wrong. I'm a people person and I'm really outgoing. So like being there right next to someone and building that relationship, I really enjoyed that. And I loved my clients. But when you're a trainer in the gym, there's only so much you can do, right? Like you're
Yeah.
seeing them from like an hour of their day, maybe even only 1 to 3 hours a week. So you can't really help them with nutrition. You can't really help them with like mindset. You can't really, and back then there were no apps that you could have while being a trainer, right? So
Yeah.
when I started working online, that was where I was just like, this is it for me, because I can fully change someone's life from the inside out. We can do everything. We can work on nutrition, we can work on mental health and mindset, we can work on relationship with food, we can work on inflammation issues, we can work on your workouts and all that. And my first year online, I was having clients make just crazy transformations. So
Nice.
it's snowballed since then. I ended up leaving the part-time gym training in 2022 so I could focus fully online, and now I have a home gym. So now I don't even go
Yeah,
to
I
public
saw that.
gyms anymore.
Yeah. Okay. So when you were doing the personal like in-person training, did you ever like try to help them with their nutrition like of any clients, or
Oh
did
yeah.
you Okay. Okay,
Yeah,
I
I
wasn't
did.
sure.
It's
Yeah.
really hard though, especially back then because it wasn't really a thing. I would show them all how to track on like a tracking app like MyFitnessPal, and I would encourage them to send me their MyFitnessPal. Some of them would at first, but it's just back then you weren't texting your clients outside the gym much, like that wasn't professional. So
Yeah.
like some of them would send me their nutrition tracking and then they'd fall off, and most of them were just like, I don't really care what you have to say with food. Like they just really weren't invested in that. Like
Yeah.
they were invested in what they paid for in the gym. And a lot of them, I feel like when I was a trainer in the gym, you might understand me if you've ever been a trainer, but I feel like a lot of them just wanted someone to be there with them in person, to take them through the workout, design the workout, and honestly just be their friend. Like one of my clients I had in person, she stayed with me for like 4 years in the gym. She
Okay.
didn't need me at all. She didn't need me at all. She just wanted
Really?
no, she didn't. By the end of like the second year, she knew what she was doing and she could definitely achieve her goals on her own. I mean, she wasn't very consistent with her nutrition, but that was just her not listening to me. But what it was, she said,
Usually
when
is.
I set, yeah, she's like, when I set up a 5 a.m. session with you, I'm not going to stand you up. So she was using me as a way to not skip the gym, right?
Yeah,
Like
just like
I feel like
the accountability.
yeah, right. So, and as much as I love that, that's great. But again, I just felt like I could be serving them so much more. And online is where I really saw that skyrocket. And I was like, yeah, this is what I'm going to do.
Yeah. So were you already thinking about going online before the pandemic, or was that the push that you needed to go online?
I didn't know that online was an option until the pandemic.
Okay.
So yeah, actually it was my first introduction to online wasn't even like official. It was the summer right after the pandemic started. So like 3 months into the pandemic. Um, I saw other people online just like sharing workouts from home. And I was like, I'm just going to do like a challenge on my social media, which was really small, by the way. So like it had like 5 of my friends joined and I put them through a challenge. It was not a moneymaker for me or anything. It was just like me telling my friends what exercises to do at home and sharing some recipes with them. And then I was like, I really like this, even though it wasn't like, a big successful thing. I just really liked it. And that's when it was like toward the end of the pandemic, I was looking up jobs online and I found one where it was like online fitness coach. We really just want you to have these certifications. I'm like, I have triple those certifications.
Okay.
so so I was like, yeah, I'll do it. And I got hired pretty quickly. And I ended up for that company working for them for about, I think, 4 years. And I ended up like being their coach that held the most clients. And it was really rewarding. I changed a lot of lives and really
Okay,
loved that.
nice. Okay, so that's how you started, is like to working under someone, and then after that, that's when you
Yeah.
started your own coaching business then?
I've worked under a few people. Yeah. In the last 6 years, I've worked under a few different companies / coaches. And then it wasn't until this last year end of 2025, I started my own LLC, my own coaching business. Well, I started it.
Okay.
I didn't
Yeah.
really actually start taking clients though on my own with my business until January of 2026. So my own
Okay.
coaching business is kind of new, but yeah,
Okay. But you've
I
been doing this
really,
for a while.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been coaching for a really long time. It's just, now it's just my own business, starting that up and growing that, right?
Yeah, got it. Okay, cool. I wasn't sure how long you'd been. I thought you were doing your own thing for longer.
No, I mean, like when I was working in the gym, technically it was my own business because the gyms I worked for, they were like contracts. So it's like I essentially was renting the space or I was paying a certain amount of money
Yeah.
to use the space, but everything was my own decision. So like my
Yeah.
prices were my own, my training style was my own, my marketing was my own. So in a sense, yes, I had a sole proprietor business for that.
Okay.
But this is my first LLC and this is my first time really like going for it, on my own. I got to the point where I was working underneath other people, but I had more education and experience than them and I wanted to do things my way. And I'm like, I really, I really want everything that I do to be aligned. So that's why
Yeah.
I decided to just, start my
Just do
own.
your own. Yeah, of course. That
Yeah.
makes total sense. Yeah. Okay. So, you said were born with one autoimmune disease, and then you were able to get that under control once you switched to the raw food vegan, and
Mhm.
then I believe you said, I just know some more of your story, so that
Yeah,
you ended up getting 2 more,
I
correct?
did.
So how
Mhm.
did you get those, and then what did you do to fix that?
Yeah. So when I first went whole food plant based and I was raw, I was lifting, but it wasn't like serious lifting. I was actually lifting with some powerlifting friends of mine for the first few years. And it was really fun, but it wasn't a full on program, right? They were like my unofficial coaches and they would just teach me the form and I'd go lift heavy and have fun. So my body was changing a little bit, but I wasn't like fully in it. And then it was the year before I got certified where I was like, I'm going to dive into like bodybuilding style. I really want to grow my hourglass. I want to like grow certain parts of my body. And it required me to eat a lot more. So I went into like this like 4-year building phase where I really wanted to put on like significant mass.
Uh-huh.
And I learned really quickly I had to eat a lot more food and a lot more protein. And when I started doing that, when I started eating more, I knew I had underlying gut issues that I had had before I went whole food plant based. And a lot of those improved, right, when I went whole food plant based. But when I started eating more, I did start noticing still some gut dysbiosis happening. And I didn't know, what was the underlying cause. I ended up getting tested and found out I had leaky gut. A lot of it was from like stress, and the fasting didn't help, all of that I did in the beginning.
Yeah.
So like, even though I was really healthy and I felt really healthy, when I was those first few years, just like adding the stress on my body of the training, the intense training, I was lifting 5, 6 days a week. I was eating a lot of food. I was also out of college, so I was getting the adult stress of life and a full-time job. So all of that kind of accumulated. And then around the same time, the rental I was in started growing mold. And yeah, so I got into this point in like my late 20s where I was pretty much living in survival mode. I was in really high really high chronic stress.
Yeah.
And then I was living in an environment where mold was just like continuously growing, and I was
Oof.
trying to,
Yeah.
yeah, I mentioned it to the landlords many times and they never took care of it. And they're just like, just, spray it and clean it.
Oh
And
no.
I did. Yeah, it was not a great situation. And the area I lived in too was not good air quality. It was a really unhealthy area that I was living. My body was reacting to a lot of things. So during that time period, I actually got 2 other autoimmune diseases. The first one was alopecia. I actually lost like 70% of my hair. I had 9 bald spots on my head. I lost my eyebrows. And that one actually, I guess I should, I guess just back up a little bit. My now husband moved in that year,
Okay.
and he wasn't plant-based. I was plant-based. He wasn't plant-based, and we agreed to eat separately. But about 6 months after he moved in, he was like starting to get frustrated that we couldn't eat together. And I didn't want to change my diet, but at the same time, it was like a new relationship. I did kind of get in this, like, I felt kind of like pressured. Not
Mm.
that he pressured me, but just like the situation. So there was like an 8-month period where I stopped being whole food plant based. I was eating, because he ate the bodybuilder diet. He had just come out of the Marines. So he was eating like, there was a lot of things he didn't eat, but he was eating like chicken and fish and eggs. And so I started mixing the diet. So I was eating some meals I'd have my own where it was like whole food plant based. And then some meals I would eat with him, and I would eat the occasional chicken or the egg. And that's actually like literally 2 months after I started doing that, that's when my hair started falling off. And I was like, well, this
Yeah.
is crazy and weird. Of course, the mold and the stress and all that probably wasn't
Yeah.
helping, right? But my body was pretty in shock from going from whole food plant based, especially like almost fully raw, whole food plant based, then adding back in the animal products, a little
Yeah.
bit right away. So I let it go on for that 8 months, and it just wasn't getting better. My hair was falling out. I actually then started getting eczema on my skin really bad.
Yeah.
And
That's another one.
yeah, nasty. It was really painful. And I started gaining weight too, and it wasn't good weight. I was gaining some muscle from the workouts I was doing, of course, because I was in a building phase, but I started noticing quite a bit of fat gain on my stomach and a lot of
Okay. Yeah.
bloating and indigestion.
Oh
Yeah, and
yeah.
I was like, this is miserable. I was also drinking more alcohol because he was a drinker and I was never a drinker. So you can
Yeah,
see
that'll do
how
it with the leaky gut
yeah.
and then all that. Well, you said he was
Yeah,
in
right?
the military, so checks out.
Yeah. So it was a really hard year that year. And that was also my first full year in the gym as a trainer too. And so by the end of that year, when nothing was getting better, I cut out alcohol actually kind of a few months in, and then still nothing was getting better. And I was just like, I can't do this anymore. I have to go back to whole food plant based. Number one, I just don't feel good physically. I also don't feel good mentally because I align with the whole food plant based lifestyle. Not just like, I'm not like a crazy ethical vegan or anything, but I align with it. I feel good, and I really, the science is there, right? So, I told my husband, I was like, my boyfriend at the time, I can't eat with you anymore. I got to go back to whole food plant based. Luckily, he was really understanding, and he's like, okay, maybe I'll just start eating more plant based with you. Long
Yeah.
story short, he ended up transitioning, so he's whole food plant based now. And he saw lots of health benefits too. So it was crazy. I started eating whole food plant based, and I gave up the alcohol, and within a month, my hair started growing back. So that
Nice.
was
Nice.
incredible. Yeah, doctors were just baffled. They're like, alopecia isn't curable. You're never going to get your hair back. And I'm like, oh, look, it's growing back, right? The eczema prevailed for a while because, like I said, that mold was growing in the rental and I was really stressed. And then a couple years later down the road, fast forward to closer to now, we moved. And after we moved, I also quit the job I was working that was really, really high stress. And it was taking up all of my time and not giving me a lot of time for myself. And once we moved out of the moldy house and I started putting more time to myself and got rid of the toxic work environment, my eczema started going away. So now I'm completely healed. I don't have any of the autoimmune issues anymore.
Yeah.
I'm whole food plant-based. Now I have been. So I was whole food plant-based for like 6 years, then took like an 8-month break. And then now I've been whole food
Okay.
plant-based since that. So it's total of 15 years roughly.
Okay.
But yeah, now I eat really aligned. And actually, since I joined the container that you and I are in, it's gotten even better because
Okay.
I'm regulating my nervous system more. And that's been a game changer recently. Actually,
Yeah.
I was working for, I think I told you I was working for a coach up until last year. And that coach was working me like 70 hours a week. It was really crazy.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it was really bad. I had no days off like for like almost 2.5 years. And so when
How
I
many
stopped,
clients did you have, if you don't mind me asking, under them?
with her, it was right around 40-50 range. The
Okay.
company before, I was actually over 100 at one point for most
Oh
of
my
it,
goodness,
actually.
that's so
Yeah,
crazy. Okay.
I was like 90 to 150 with that other company, but
Wow.
they gave me a lot of freedom so I could coach my own style and I could put whatever time I wanted into it as long as my
Okay.
clients were doing well.
Yeah.
Whereas the person I worked for more recently, they were a little bit more of a control freak and had me like on my phone from when I woke up to when I went to bed, like 6, 7
Oh,
days.
really?
Yes. Yeah.
They
6,
didn't have
7
like
days a
working
week.
hours for you, like 9 to 6
No.
or something? Oh
I
my
mean,
goodness.
they claim that I could take time off, but then if someone messaged and I didn't answer, I would get, talked to about it. So
Oh my goodness.
it was a pretty
Wow. Okay.
toxic, yeah,
Yeah,
it was
I
a
can see
pretty
why you just
toxic
want to
work
make your own
environment.
business now. Yeah, that makes a
Yes.
lot of sense.
So it was September of 2025 when I left that working environment. And honestly, that was when my nervous system started healing.
I
And
bet it did. I
and
bet it
it's been
did.
just getting better and better since.
Yeah.
And yeah, and so now with all the inner work that we're doing in Nick's container,
Yeah.
it's even better. So yeah, I feel the best I've felt in a very long time. So yeah.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure. So, do you think when you added in like the animal-based things, like do you think you still had some leaky gut going on and that would be another one of the causes?
Well, it took me, didn't help. The animal products are very inflammatory, so it didn't help.
Yeah.
But it took me about a year after cutting the animal products back out for my gut to fully get back to balance.
Okay.
I had to just keep it really clean,
Yeah.
mostly raw. I would only cook things like sweet potatoes and my proteins. But so like mostly raw and really clean. And I also got better at hydrating, which was a big one for me. And then actually that same year too was when I stopped, eating in a surplus too. Cause I did a really long building phase to build my
Yeah. So
hourglass
that
up
was
and
like also stretching your
yeah,
gut. Yeah.
I feel
The
like that was
excess.
really stressing my gut because I didn't take breaks. I should have spread it out more, but I was just like, I really wanted to build my hourglass and I went from 20-inch glutes to 46-inch glutes in 3 years. So
I mean, that's really good. Yeah.
but it was a lot of stress on my body because
Yeah.
I was lifting an average of 6 days a week. 3 of those were leg days. So you can imagine working
Yeah.
full time, being stressed, recovery rate was low. And then I was just having to constantly eat and my
Yeah.
sleep wasn't that great. So,
How big of a surplus were you in?
it honestly, I'd have to go look back at my tracking. It's been so long. I was tracking at the time and I think, so when I first started my journey, when I got out of fasting, I was severely under eating. I was like 1,000, 1,200 max, 1,400 calories. I worked my way all the way up to 3,000. I know that.
Nice. Yeah.
That was my height.
Was that your
And
like
now
your
I'm
new
back.
maintenance? Was the 3,000 or was that
That
like your
was when
total
I was
calories?
building. That
Oh,
was
okay,
when I
the
was building.
3,000 was
Yeah.
building. Okay.
That was when I was building and but my maintenance just steadily increased, right? As I built muscle.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and now my maintenance is around like 2,200, I think now.
That's
So
really good.
I did that big kind of building phase and I did a leaning out phase a year after I ended that building phase. And I did a little bit too hard of a leaning out phase, like too too much too fast. I was
Mm.
probably overdoing the cardio and the deficit, and I lost a little bit of my muscle that I'd gained, and I got really upset about that. So ever since then, that was 2019. Ever since then, ever since 2019 and that leaning out phase that I wasn't happy with, I don't do bulking cutting phases anymore. I don't. What I do now is I hang out around maintenance, and I actually prefer to adjust my calories with movement. So like if I
Okay.
want to lose a little bit, go in a little bit in deficit, I'll just do extra steps or a little bit extra low intensity cardio.
Yeah.
I've really found what works for my body. I've found what keeps my body like happy and what's
Nice.
anti-inflammatory. That's a big thing about
Yeah.
me is like I really mastered the anti-inflammatory routine. So for me, um, the autoimmune issue I was born with was asthma, and my lungs were damaged in the womb. So low intensity steady state cardio lists like zone
Yeah.
2, heart rate zone 2. For me, that actually is really important for my lungs. It really keeps my lungs strong and healthy. So I don't even consider it cardio training. I consider it respiratory training. But that
Yeah.
also for me, it's my way of, if I want to lean out a little bit, I'll just add a little bit more of that in. So
Okay.
it's not high intensity, it's not hit, so it doesn't increase my cortisol. If anything, it actually drops my cortisol. So
Yeah.
I avoid any activities that increase my cortisol, and I focus on activities that decrease my cortisol. So strength training at moderate intensity, I do list cardio, I do yoga, I do Pilates, that kind of stuff. And then I stay active as active as I can with steps. You know, I'm on a walking
Yeah.
pad usually when I'm on my computer and stuff like that. So
Nice. Nice. Yeah, that
yeah,
too, also for people that are listening, if you do enjoy food or if you don't like want to really push that like calorie deficit and just add in more steps. I just know for some
yeah,
people, depending on their job, they can say like, oh, I'm, sitting at a desk all day, which I've mentioned
yeah,
this before because I like my other job besides being an online coach is I drive trains. So I have to sit down. And so my previous coach, like I told him, like I'm having a hard time because I would work like 10 to 12 hour shifts, and then I'm like trying to make up for my steps somewhere like after, like walking around my neighborhood
right.
in the middle of the night or something. I'm like, dude, this is ridiculous. And he's like, no, like what you can do is instead of like just sitting while you're working out, like for your 2 or 3 minute rests, just like walk laps around the gym. So now every
Yeah.
time you do a rest for 2 minutes, that's, a couple hundred steps. And so that like
So
by the
you're
time I was done
pacing.
with my, yeah, so by the time I was done with my workout, I already got like half my steps for the day, and then it'd be
There you
easy to
go.
get the rest of them. So,
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of pacing. I am. So
yeah,
like if I'm on a phone call, like I work from home obviously, so I'm in my house all day. If I'm on a phone call instead of a video call, I will literally walk circles around my kitchen island or
there
like
you go.
walk up and down my hallway. And then like for all my clients who work desk jobs, I highly encourage an under desk treadmill and at least a stand up desk, right? And then take like
Yeah,
walking breaks. But I will say that's been a big part of my coaching actually in the recent years is what I've found, especially coaching women. Most women don't need to go in a deficit. They really don't because
yeah,
their metabolism is so messed up from all the dieting and the fasting and the quick fixes. So when I get women into my program, I actually usually start them like right around maintenance. If they need to lose a lot of weight, I'll go just a little bit under like a really small deficit. Or if they want to build more muscle, I'll go a little bit over, just a really small surplus. And that's where I keep the nutrition. And then I just work on sustainable activity levels.
that's
Because
awesome.
if you're building muscle, you're building your metabolism, right? And you're increasing your activity. And then if you're getting your steps in, you're going to be burning, right, more calories than you're consuming, right? If you get enough steps and just increasing their activity. So I'm like, you want to spend some time outside, go in your pool, right? Or go for a walk. Like you want to read a book? Great. Can you do it while you're on your walking pad? Right? Like that kind of stuff. So with my clients, I really focus on sustainable approach and holistic approach, but I'm really like anti-diet culture because
Okay.
I've been there, done that. I also had an eating disorder when I was younger. So I know how easy it is to get trapped into those unhealthy mindsets. So I'm really not the biggest fan of like the obsessive like deficit and surplus and all of that. Like
Yeah,
obviously the science is there. You have to either consume less burn less than you consume, right? Or consume less, right? To lose fat. But it doesn't have to be like you have to do this 500 to 800 calorie deficit. You can do it with movement. You can do it with subtle lifestyle changes, right? Just being more active.
yeah. Or like you said, or just like a slight deficit, and then you just
It's
you
like,
can increase the deficit with the extra steps and
yep,
stuff. But what I found with my clients is, I think at least half of the females that I end up coaching, I have to do like a reverse first. Like they come into
Yes.
me looking for fat loss, and then they're
Yes.
like, I eat an apple a day. And I'm like, okay, well, we're gonna fix that because you need to eat
Right?
more than that. Like, this is why
Exactly.
nothing's been happening. You need to eat food. So we're gonna work on you
Yes.
eating food first. And then once you're used to eating food, then we can figure out the next step. But step one is let's get
Right.
used to eating. So it's usually
I'm
like,
right there with you.
yeah, so and then with that, we can get into like the gut health stuff is like if they haven't been eating, then they're probably like their stomach acid's low, or they could be
Oh
dealing
yeah.
with like leaky gut stuff. So then,
Oh
then
yeah.
I work on their digestion,
There
possibly
you go.
healing the leaky gut, all these things to improve that digestion so they can actually absorb the nutrients for the now
Yeah.
more food volume that they're going to be eating to, because my big thing is like fueling your body because
Yes.
I don't like the whole calories in, calories out, or like the if it fits your macros, like just like doesn't really work. Like because a lot of
No.
people, because I just know from my experiences, like when I first started working out, I followed like if it fits your macros, and no one really showed me the
Mhm.
importance of like the whole food thing. So I would hit my
Yeah.
macros, and my body looked like trash because like half of my protein was from like protein powder, and just
Yeah.
I'm like hitting all my macros, but it was just like throwing random stuff into my body throughout the day and not eating like
Right.
whole foods. And then once I finally got like a bodybuilding coach, that's when I learned like I could eat like I was eating like 5 or 6 times a day, but like whole food stuff, and my body changed
Right.
like so in like 6 months, and I looked the best.
Yep.
And so then I've just that's like the kind of stuff I like teach my clients, and I like try to put in my content is like it can even really manipulate things by like how close, like how you found how close you can get to eating like all whole food, like raw things,
Yes.
like is so good for you. Like you could really almost be eating the same amount of calories technically, but if you eat that
Yeah.
way compared to eating your calories from like a peanut butter and protein shakes all day, you're gonna look
Mhm.
totally different.
Oh yeah.
That's just how it is.
You and I are the same on that. Like that's a
Yeah,
big one for me. I tell my clients this all the time. Quality over quantity. I will
yeah,
always push that. And that's like what you just said with your female clients. I relate to that so much because most of my female clients, they come into my program and I give them their first meal plan and their macros and they're like, "You want me to eat how much?"
yeah,
Like this is so much food. And I'm like, "Actually, it's not.
yeah,
It's a slight deficit actually, or it's like right
yeah.
around
We're
maintenance."
still building up to what your maintenance should
Right?
be.
Yeah, so all my clients go through a reverse diet at some point. Usually it's just like, first of all, it's getting them to eat regular meals, like a meal frequency, like you're saying. Like most of my
Yes,
women come in and they're not eating breakfast. And I'm like, why are you not
yeah.
eating breakfast? Right.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
And then
that's like
like
a
you
whole
said,
other
those
thing we can talk about is
right?
the.
We might have to do a couple of these.
I think so.
Yeah, so like no, the processed foods. I feel really lucky that I did go whole food plant based first because that is one of the first things I learned was how bad processed foods are. So I never got into that. I never got
Yeah,
into protein
it's good.
snacks
You
and
just skip that
protein
phase.
bars.
That's good.
I skipped that phase and
Yeah,
I teach my clients that right at the bat. I'm like, look, I am I'm really supportive of you hitting your macros, but you need to hit your macros with real food as much as possible. So we have a rule
yeah.
it's in my check-in forms for my clients. There's a question there. And one of the first questions is, what percentage of whole foods did you eat this week? And I give
I
them
like
like
that.
60, 80%, up and whatever they put it, they're going to get in their feedback. If they're not at 80% or more, that's their first task for the next week. Like
Yeah,
I really try to get them to that 80% whole foods or more. And we focus on that first. Like I do everything from the inside out and I like to focus on the basics and everything like natural first
yeah,
before we touch anything outside of that. Right.
yeah. I'm the same. I'm the same way. So yeah, that's what usually like the thing is to the whole food thing, because I've noticed whenever like I like think my clients could be making more progress, that's like what like they have to audit is like their food and like have them send me
Yes.
pictures, and I'm like,
Yep.
this is I think like you're saying you're eating everything, but like let's like really take a look at like
Right.
every single thing, and it's usually like, oh, okay, this you're starting to slide like back towards like the 50 or 60% whole foods, and you're just kind of like going out to eat, and
Right.
it's like kind of healthier options, like a cava or something, but it's still like not a
Yep.
home cooked meal, as you don't know what like they're putting in. Like there's going to be some seed oils and other things that are going to be causing some more inflammation. So let's like the closer like we can get to 100% like all home cooked meals, like the faster you're going to be
Yes.
making progress.
Yep.
Yeah, that's
I
just how.
do with same thing you're doing. Food tracking is so important because like if you honestly with most people, exercise is the easiest part. It really is. Like
Yeah,
the things in your journey that are going to hinder you the most if you don't have them in line is going to be first nutrition, second would be sleep, and third would be stress. That's what I've learned. So those 3 pillars are what I focus on first. And I'm like, you're going to work out regardless. And if
Yeah.
your workouts aren't, we focus on workouts. My clients send me their workout videos and I go over their form
Yeah.
and stuff, but like, they're going to work out regardless. If your workouts aren't perfect yet, I don't really care. I want the basics down first, right? I want you to
Yeah.
make sure your nutrition's in line. You need to be getting sleep so you can recover from those workouts. You need to manage your stress so your nervous system isn't in survival mode, right?
Yeah.
And then of course we fine tune the exercise part and the activity part, and they find, the kind of cardio or activity they love, and they get in their groove with strength training, and that obviously is going to change their body regardless. But those foundational pillars are super important. I wholeheartedly agree.
Yes, that's basically, I have it structured pretty similar with mine. Like my first phase, I usually take everyone through is more focused. I mean, it's going to start with the nutrition, but like usually the first phase is more like sleep, because or like having your body make energy like efficiently so they don't have to rely on like caffeine like all day.
Yes.
And so just that's like the first one, and then into like a gut phase where like they
Yep.
can make sure like they're absorbing all their like nutrients and all that, and then like you said, like stress, managing that. And then after we have like that stuff dialed in, then for females, that's when you can really like fix like any hormonal imbalances, make sure their cycle's where it needs to be. Guys, it's a little
Yeah.
bit easier because it's like, a 24-hour thing, not a whole month thing. And then once you get like
Yeah.
all that stuff, like the good foundation, like you said, then it just makes the building muscle and the training like work so much better because your body's like not fighting
Right.
all these other things. Like because if your sleep's horrible, you're eating horrible, and you're stressed out, it doesn't matter how like perfect your form is in the gym, you're not going to make as much progress as all if all that stuff is perfect.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Honestly, especially if we're talking about like inflammation, like the autoimmune issues, what's crazy is stress can be the make it or break it. It can be the biggest thing.
Yeah.
That's what took me the longest to learn. When I first started addressing my autoimmunity, I started first with nutrition, first and foremost, and it definitely made an impact. And then I started with like sleep and hydration and all that good stuff. And that made an impact too. But at the end of the day, my autoimmune diseases didn't completely go away until I addressed the fact that I was living in survival mode
Yeah.
and that my nervous system was just completely burnt out. And so stress management is something. What I do is I have 5 pillars with my clients. So I have phases like you do, but essentially my philosophy is 5 pillars.
Okay.
So pillar 1 is nutrition. And that one we focus on whole food, fiber dense, clean proteins,
Okay.
balanced meals, and a good meal frequency. And then pillar 2 is exercise. And here we focus on balance too. Our foundation is strength training, but we also don't neglect cardio, activity, and mobility and flexibility.
Oh,
And
yeah.
then for me, pillar 3 is going to be stress management. And
Okay.
that's going to be things like meditation. That's going to be things like therapy. That's going to be, wherever you can eliminate. If you can't eliminate, reduce. If you can't reduce, manage as best as you can. So, activities that take down your stress. Pillar 4 is hydration, because honestly,
Yeah.
I learned the hard way. If you're not hydrated, nothing's going to go your way.
Yeah.
And everyone in our society is dehydrated these days, right? So hydration is pillar 4. And then last but not least is recovery for me. And that's where I go over like the typical recovery, like, okay, muscle recovery. Are we staying flexible? Are we doing our mobility? Are we doing like things like massage, rolling out, chiropractor? Are you
Yeah.
doing things like sauna, cold therapy, heat therapy, that kind of thing? Any area that your recovery needs looking at, we go into that. So those are my 5 pillars. And then I take those, and for each client, I customize it to their needs. So like
Yeah.
what you were saying with women and like hormones and stuff, yeah, hormones and metabolism damage, all of that, and gut health, it's a real problem for both men and women, more so than women to men. But here's the
Yeah.
thing. If you focus on the basics, like my 5 pillars those are founded in like basic science. So I'm a scientist first and
Yeah.
foremost. So I always take it back to basic biology, and like just in fitness too, focusing on the basics, right? Rather than saying what supplement do I need? What next diet do I need? What peptide do I need? No, I don't do that. I'm like, we're going to focus on the basics first. And here's what's crazy. If you focus on those basics, most of those other things take care of themselves. Like while you're doing all those things, you're working on your hydration, your nutrition, your sleep, your stress, your recovery, and your workouts. your gut is going to heal automatically because you're doing all that stuff. Your hormones
Yeah.
are going to start balancing themselves. Your metabolism is going to start rebuilding. And then when you get a little deeper into it, if there's areas that are lagging, that's when you start to fine tune it and address it, right?
Yeah. So is that when you would like add in like let's say they still are dealing with like some leaky gut problems, is that when you would add in like some kind of supplement to help them?
So I'm very less is more with supplements. I'm
Yeah.
very bare minimum with supplements. Like I have a whole food multivitamin just to cover my bases, mainly vitamin D3 and vitamin B12 because we can't get that from food, right?
Yeah.
And then I do creatine. I do a whole food plant-based creatine. I do have protein powder, but I rarely use it because I really like to eat my protein rather than drink it.
Okay.
And then like there have been times in my journey where I've taken other supplements, but again, I really try to address everything with nutrition and lifestyle first. Like
Got it.
supplements are a last for me because here's the thing. I was really lucky. One of the gyms I worked at after the pandemic, I actually commuted and worked at like a really big gold gym and
Okay.
they did all this like really cool educational stuff. Like I actually ended up visiting the Food Services of America headquarters for my state. So like it's a really,
Okay.
really unique opportunity to learn about like some of the insides of things that no one learns about. And here's the thing that I learned with supplements. We had a whole course on supplements when I worked there, and supplements are not regulated by anyone.
Yeah.
Like there's a website. I know what it is. My friend has done this. You can go on this website today and make your own supplement company. You can start selling tomorrow. No one's
Yeah.
checking you. No one's
Yeah.
checking where you're sourcing these. No one's checking if what you're saying is in there is actually in there in those amounts, what the quality of it is. Like you have to follow certain manufacturing qualifications. But when it comes to what you're putting in there, like no one's regulating the supplement industry. That's why it's such a big money making industry. So
Yeah.
I only consume supplements that have multiple third party tests done on them. I'm very specific about what supplement brands I will use. I have to
Same.
see so many certifications and so much peer reviewed like articles on them. Like I do all the research, right?
Yeah.
So, but even with that, like your body's not designed to get most of its nutrients in supplement form. Like a lot of the micronutrients that you can get in supplements, like some of those nutrients, they actually are meant to be combined with other pieces of food, like other parts
Yes.
of whole food to
Yeah.
absorb in your body. So like,
Correct.
a lot of micronutrients actually don't get absorbed thoroughly if you don't have fiber with them. So then taking them in a pill is pointless, right? So that's
Yes.
why I always address with nutrition first. And then, yeah, if someone, I have my clients do blood work. If they're really concerned about something, I will have my clients do blood work. And then if we see something that's out of line, like we might add a supplement then, right?
Yeah.
But we're going to address everything we can with the diet and lifestyle first. And then we're going to use that other stuff as a last resort, right?
Got it. Got it. Yeah, I'm with you on that. Like there's that's why I only get like supplements for like a couple companies. Like just Eminent Nutrition is one. And then the other one is just that I recommend is like Metagenics, as they have good supplements. So like the Glutagenics is good for like leaky gut, and then they have a couple other good ones like for like if you need betaine HCl and a couple other things. But especially like I tell all my clients like don't get any like supplements on Amazon, because Amazon's been
Yeah.
like, because the people can randomly like just say like, oh, it's this supplement, and it's like not. So you need to make sure you're getting it from the company's like actual website, and but make sure you're getting
Yeah.
like a legit like supplement company and not just like these random people. So you have to. But
Yeah.
that's why I've already done the research so that I can tell if my clients need any like supplements. But I usually only like recommend like a few things. Yeah, because most of it should be covered in the diet, like you said, with like all the whole foods because of all the micronutrients, and then they should be combined because that's the because I don't even take like a multivitamin. I just try to do my best with eating like fruits and vegetables. I'm just a little picky. I've
Yeah.
gotten better. So I'm eating more vegetables now. But
There you go.
yeah, but
Fruit and vegetables never can go wrong by eating more fruit and vegetables.
yeah, exactly.
Maybe right now with what's going on,
Yeah, the vegetable you just stay
down
off like
south.
the lettuce. So I'm like I'm good. I'm like I've always been really good at eating like fruits, but like the vegetables not so much.
Yeah.
But I've been better lately. So
I
yeah,
grow my own, so like lettuce right now and
there
berries
you
and
go.
stuff and
So you're
herbs.
good.
Yeah, I grow my own, so I don't have to worry about it. I just told my husband, I'm like, don't buy any of those. We're just gonna get them from our garden, right
Yeah,
now.
that's what
But
that's what
yeah,
we want to do eventually, is get a place so we can do that.
yeah.
Yeah, because that's like
So
really the way.
I rescue animals, so I do have property. I do have acreage because I rescue horses from slaughter and I rescue dogs from kill shelters and stuff. So
That's so
I am
nice.
lucky. I have a really big property. I got 5 acres and I
Oh,
have
yeah,
indoor
that's
and
awesome.
outdoor. Yeah, I got indoor and outdoor plants. So I got some of my herbs inside. I got a vegetable garden. We have fruit trees. We have berries. We have pears. We have plums.
Nice.
Yeah, we got a lot. So we're covered on that. But
Nice.
no,
Do
yeah,
you live in California?
I live in Washington State. So
Oh,
I'm
you live
2
in
states up from
Washington. Oh,
California.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. You can grow
Yeah.
all that stuff up there?
Yeah, during this time of year, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, probably. And I mean, it depends on where you're at. So I'm in a really unique space in Washington. I'm in the middle of nowhere. I'm on the coast, like in the logging territory. So
Ah, okay.
I have coastal weather, which means like the rainforest is in my backyard. So I get a lot of
Yeah.
moisture. So things grow really well here. And now normally things would freeze, but like last winter, because of all the climate change, we didn't even get snow or freezing last winter. So my kale was growing all winter long. It was crazy. So usually I only get things growing in the spring and summer and late,
Yeah.
fall, but like sometimes like this last year we had kale growing all through the winter outside
There you
because
go.
it didn't freeze. Yeah, so we do our best and then whatever we can't grow, we try to buy local, like farmers markets and stuff.
Yeah,
So,
that's really good. Exactly.
yeah.
You said no because you said your husband's like the plant-based too now, right?
He is, yeah. He
Okay.
transitioned right after the pandemic. He did it really slowly. It was like over 8 years. So like he gave up
Okay.
red meat first. It was easy for him. Actually, the first thing he gave up was dairy, and he saw so much benefits from that. Like it was crazy. He was mind blown about what happened when he gave up dairy, and that made him really open minded to other things.
Yeah.
He's lucky. He loves variety anyways. So he grew up eating some plant based foods because he just eats everything.
Okay.
But yeah, so he gave up dairy first. That was really the big one that kind of catapulted it. And then red meat was easy for him to give up because he was kind of eating the standard chicken, fish, egg bodybuilder diet. So
Ah, okay.
so he gave up red meat next. Then he gave up chicken. And then he gave up fish. Eggs was the hardest one. That one, it took all the way until the pandemic for him to give
Yeah.
that one up. But yeah, he gave up eggs last and he's seen so many benefits from it. So it just like, first of all, he saw the benefits of dairy and then he saw what I went through when I, took a
Yeah.
break from plant-based. And he was like, that's just profound. What happened to you? He's like, I want to try giving up some more stuff. So I can,
Yeah.
number one, so I can eat with you. And number two, just so he could see what it did. And every time he gave up animal products, he saw health benefits. Actually, performance was a big one for him. So he was a Marine. So
Hmm.
he's been bodybuilding since he was 14. He has a really athletic physique. And when he was in a Marine, he was working out like 7 days a week. It was a really intense like schedule.
Yeah.
And when he moved in with me, he's tried to keep his same fitness schedule. Um, while finishing college, which, it kind of
Yeah.
tapered off after a few years, but he did pretty good. He still works out a lot. But yeah, no, he was mind blown about the performance benefits. So as he gave up these animal products, he noticed better recovery. He noticed better endurance, strength, and stamina in the gym, like just better performance in his workouts, a lot less inflammation. So he got really attached to that feeling.
I'm sure. I'm sure.
Yeah.
So, okay. Yeah, because that's what I want to, 'cause I what I'd like to do is find more like local farmers markets to get things from because I know that's a thing is like when you get your proteins from the store, can be kind of like you're
Yeah.
wondering like if it's even ethically sourced. But like for you, like what are your like staples for protein?
Gotcha. Okay. So I'm big on whole food proteins. So I tried not to go. I I I
Yeah.
only dip into the processed stuff occasionally. I don't ever do the faux meats, like like
Okay, well that's
Beyond
good.
Meat
Yeah.
and stuff
Yeah.
like that. I can't stand. Number one, those don't taste good to me, because I don't actually miss the taste of meat at all. I grew up ironically I grew up with ranchers in my family, and so like
Okay.
I was forced to eat meat from a young age and dairy products, and I never liked it. I never liked meat. It was always hard for me to eat. So I don't miss any of the animal foods. It was actually really crazy when I first went plant-based. I was so certain I was going to miss things like cheese and stuff. Actually, I don't miss it at all. So it was really easy for me to transition, but so I don't eat any of the faux stuff. I stay away from the
Okay,
highly
well that's good.
processed faux stuff. Yeah, faux
Yeah.
cheeses, faux meats. That's
That
not only do I not
it's
like the taste of it,
gross.
but it's super inflammatory. It's full of oils and salts and
Yeah, it's all like
preservatives.
vegetable oil and stuff.
I just don't feel good when I eat it. So, and I don't like the taste. So I stay from that. So my biggest thing is whole food plant-based. I don't know if you know what whole food plant-based is, but so my main proteins are going to be tofu and tempeh. Those are my favorites. I love tempeh because it's fermented, so it feels so good on my gut. Like
Yeah.
I don't
Okay.
ever feel like full. I can eat a whole block of tempeh and I feel light and airy and energized. I love that. Love me some tofu. So those are my top two. And then we do soy curls as another protein. I really like soy curls because that's my husband's favorite. It does kind of have that, like, you know, if you go to an Asian restaurant and you get like Mongolian beef or General Tso's chicken, that like chewy texture, it
Yeah.
does give you that vibe. So for anyone
Okay.
who misses the meat texture, I like it because it soaks up a lot of flavor, because it's a
Okay.
dehydrated protein, but it's just soy isolate dehydrated. So those are our top three, our tofu, tempeh, and
Okay.
soy curls. Occasionally, I will do TVP, which is like meatless crumbles, but they're just like dehydrated. I don't do any of like the flavored ones. Like, again, no faux stuff. It's just like straight up TVP, texturized vegetable protein. Or I do pea crumbles, pea protein crumbles, because I like to have a
Okay.
variety.
Yeah. Yeah.
I eat a lot of soy, so occasionally I throw the pea crumbles in, so I get a little bit of variety. And those are great. They're like a ground beef texture, which is not really my vibe, so I'm not big on those, but I'll eat them
Okay.
occasionally. That's really it. Like, I do add obviously legumes, beans, lentils.
Yeah. That's
There's
what I was gonna
nuts and
ask if you do
seeds in my
like
diet. Yeah.
beans and rice and stuff too.
Yeah, yeah. I don't do too much beans because they're just really. I love beans, but I have to be. For me, I can't eat beans at night. They really don't sit well with me at night. So if I
Okay.
eat beans, I do them midday, and I'm just really like, I do small portions. I do lentils. I like to do a lot of like variety when it comes to that kind of stuff, but
Okay.
I'm really big on cruciferous vegetables and leafy greens. I do a lot of fruit and smoothies.
Okay. Nice. Nice.
I'm a salad girl. I know a lot of people aren't salad people, but I love me a good loaded salad.
Okay.
So I will do this like giant loaded salad, and sometimes it's not just a leafy salad. Sometimes it's a quinoa salad, so it's got some like bulk to it. So I
Okay.
love a
Okay.
good loaded salad, and I put everything under the sun in my salad. So it'll have the greens, it'll have like a grain like quinoa. Sometimes it'll have beans. It'll have fruit, it'll have nuts, it'll have seeds, it'll have a protein source like tempeh or tofu, and then like
Okay.
some
And then
kind of
some healthy fats
homemade
too.
dressing. Yeah, yeah, I gotta get the healthy
Like
fats in
everything.
there.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So I, as a whole food plant-based person, I do try to avoid oils as much as I can. I'm not anti-seed oil. I actually don't follow. I don't believe in that whole thing.
Okay. Okay.
I think too much oil of any kind is bad. First of all, like, just straight out, like, I'm fairly anti-oil, but it's not because of how it's made or what's in it. It's because oil is literally like processed, isolated fat, right? So it's going to add
Mm-hmm.
up quick on your calories, and it's processed. I'd rather, instead of going and getting, like your oil from like an olive oil, why don't you just eat the darn olive? That's like my logic behind it. So like, if
Okay.
I'm,
Okay.
yeah. So the only thing we do eat a lot of Asian food in my house. My husband loves Asian food, so he'll add like occasional sesame seed oil just for the
Oh yeah.
taste, but
Yeah. That is
really
good.
moderate. Yeah, really moderate though, because I really try to stay away from oil. So most things we cook oil free. I cook in vegetable broth, so it adds flavor,
Hmm.
but
Interesting. Okay.
yeah, and the vegetable broth is nonstick.
Yeah.
So like, so it helps with nonstick, it helps with flavor, but it doesn't, I don't have to add oil calories. And then I air fry. I air fry like crazy. So
Oh
that's how
yeah.
I cook. And yeah, but if you're going to give me a choice of animal fat versus seed oil, I'm always going to go for seed oil because animal fats are way more inflammatory. But, yeah, so I'm fairly oil free. Like, my oil
Interesting.
amounts
Okay.
are going to be really, really low because that's part of whole food plant-based. So the whole
Okay.
food plant-based movement started in the like late 2010 or early 2010s, late first decade of the 2000s. I
Okay.
can't talk right now. So like right around like 2008, 2010, that's when whole food plant-based came about. And it was Dr. Campbell from the Nutrition Institute at Cornell. He did like the China study. I don't know if you've ever heard of that. So he kind of started off the plant-based movement. That's actually where I got my certifications from. So
Okay.
I did
Okay.
I did his plant-based nutrition program at Cornell.
Nice.
And yeah, and so like, he preaches whole food plant-based, and in whole food plant-based, you really avoid pretty much all processed foods. So like no oils.
That's good.
So, and they're a little bit more bean-based, when I started bodybuilding, I knew I needed more protein than just beans. So when I was first raw whole food plant-based, I was getting all my protein from beans and nuts, and it wasn't enough to build the body I wanted, right? It wasn't enough to build the muscle I wanted, without supplementing with protein powder, which I really don't like protein powder. So, so that's when I added like tofu and tempeh, but there's so many health benefits also to tofu and tempeh. So that's why I stick with those whole food ones. So I'm mostly like, I'm 95% whole food plant-based. And if we go into the areas where I stretch out of that, it's going to be like isolated soy proteins, like soy curls or the pea crumbles. It's going to be the protein powder, the plant-based protein powder.
Okay.
It's going to be the occasional use of oil, but I don't eat any processed foods outside of that. Like I don't eat junk foods. I don't eat candy. I haven't eaten at a fast food restaurant in over 15 years because I worked at a fast food restaurant when I was in high school, and there's just things you can't unsee. So I'm a really clean eater, which is extreme, and I don't expect that from all of my clients. So like I also don't only coach plant-based people. So I have plant-based clients, I have non-plant-based clients. I coach anyone who wants to improve their health and well-being. So that's the cool thing. Like what my clients say they love about me is that I never force anything on them. Like this is how I eat because this is how I feel the best and how I've made the progress that I've made, that I really enjoy my life, but I don't force it on my clients. I'm just like, hey, this is the science. This is my knowledge. This is my experience. This is what my other clients have succeeded with. I would recommend this for you based on your goals, but whether they listen to me or not, that's their choice.
Yeah,
right?
of course. Yeah, we can only guide them so much. But yeah, I think just in general, like the less processed food, even if people don't want to go all the way to like the only plant-based thing, but if like the closer you can just get to like only whole foods, like the better.
Yeah.
And also like if you can get like your if you were going to eat meat, like if you can get stuff from your like local farmers, so that way it's like they've raised the stuff the right way and there's not adding in any extra stuff or like I have a friend that hunts deer, so he can give me some venison. Hopefully I can go. My plan is to go with him this year so I can get my own deer meat for a few months. So like things like that, like that's going to be like the best stuff for you because that's going to not be so inflammatory. So that's what I tell my clients because once you start getting into trying to supplement it with all this processed stuff like the bars and the protein powder and stuff, it just you're just getting you're straying from the path really.
We don't do that here. There's no processed supplementation where in my program I don't do that. And I wholeheartedly agree with you. Go to the local sources, go to the small farmers, the game sources. That's fine, for people who still, again, I don't judge others. This is everyone's own choice. I would never try to force it on anyone because I know that no one could have forced it on me. I had to come to it on my own, so it's everyone's choice to make for their own. But it's just for me, I look at it from a health point of view. Like I do align with the ethics because I'm an animal lover for sure. So I align with the ethics, but, and I align with the environmental cause as well, obviously. But for me, it was all health based. Like I made these decisions for my health. And like literally it was what did it for me is I saw so much progress in such a short period of time. There was just no turning back. And then the one time I did turn back,
see what happened.
The one time I did turn back for like a split second, it was like all hell broke loose. So my body really does a good job of telling me. And that's something like the healthier you get, the cleaner you eat, the fitter you get, your body does a really good job of communicating with you on what it feels best with, right?
Yeah.
And that's like, I teach my clients to listen to their body. I really do.
Yeah. Yeah. Once you get to that point, then that's like when they can listen to their body because then they'll know what like health, like really being like healthy feels like.
Exactly. Yeah.
Awesome. So I actually had some more questions for you, but I think we'll just have to do another podcast because I really wanted to do like, as I really wanted to do like a more of a deep dive on like all the gut health stuff. But I think that would go with like, that probably can be its own episode at this point because this one kind of turned into the more of a nutrition one, which I think is really good for everyone to hear though.
Yeah, I'm all for doing another episode. I love this kind of stuff. So I love sharing my experience and knowledge. And if I can help anyone in their journey, that's what I'm here for. So yeah, let's do a gut health one next. That'll be fun.
Yeah. This is okay, cool. I knew this was going to be a good podcast. I'm so excited we finally made this work.
I know. I'm so sorry. Literally, I felt so bad. I'm like everything that could have gone wrong for me in the last 2 months did. Knock on wood. I'm done with that,
but
right?
these are the challenges that are given to us, right? Like to prove that this is what we want to do.
Yeah.
Like similar things. Like as soon as I'm like, I'm gonna do coaching business last year, then like it was super hard, and then I'm like, I'm really gonna go in, and I just keep getting tested, so I have to prove like, yes, this is what I want to do.
Right. It's
Yeah,
our resilience that has to shine through here, right?
exactly, exactly. Okay, so real quick before we go, like, where can everyone find you if they want to reach out for
Aw,
coaching?
thank you. Yeah. So my name is Samara, Coach Samara, and you can find me at Wellness Coach Samara on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. I think those are the platforms I'm on. I might be on YouTube too. So yeah, Instagram is my main form. So
Yeah,
at Wellness Coach Samara on Instagram. Follow me, and if you have any questions about anything we talked about today, I'm happy to answer them.
awesome. And I'll make sure I link in the description too.
Yeah, I'll send you my link.
Perfect, perfect. Okay, we'll figure out the next time.
Yeah.
All
All right. Thanks, Sam. Have a good night.
right, you too.